Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, pizza roulette fans around Australia, welcome back to your favourite MMA podcast, the Run It Back podcast, episode number 36 coming into you this fortnight, boys. And it's a big week in Australian sport. We've got Melbourne Cup tomorrow after the potty comes out. It would have been before, but we'll be able to tip some winners and just pretend that we got it. We'll just edit it in later. But just shucking over to the co-host who's probably got some hot tips for the boys this week. DL, how are we?
I'm good, Snags. It'd be pretty bold of me to start calling Melbourne Cup winners now, and then the potty comes out on a Thursday, and we record this on a Monday night.
Chuck it out there.
So I will not be going down that pathway. But Stack Show this week, Snags. Got a special guest ready to dial into the podcast this episode. Actually, pretty lucky to get this guest because they're actually about to board a plane to the States. So we talked to the one and only Chelsea Hackett, a Run It Back fan favourite, and we spin the wheel for our giveaway.
Oh, that's why I'm just excited. It's like playing pizza roulette on a Friday night after about 7 bourbons, boys. Don't know if you're going to win, but if you do, it's exciting.
We're also going to talk Ufc Vegas 13 and 14. Snags has something new for the listeners as well with his little book tour. I don't even know what you call it. What is it, Snags?
Story time with Snags.
Story time with Snags.
Yeah, releasing a children's book for charity, I think.
Beautiful. And plenty of the regular Run It Back segments. But before I get too carried away, let me introduce my studio mate. Stoney, it's good.
DL, how are you, mate? Always very good. We're recording a bit later tonight, but that's all good. We've got a public holiday following straight up tomorrow. It's always a win for the boys.
Oh, mate, highly aroused about a public holiday. Snags being just moving to Melbourne, I get to reap the only reward that I've got to reap in the last 3 months of being here, and that's a public holiday. Because, boys, other than that, being in lockdown. The man in the Free State, though, Statman. How are we?
Honestly, it doesn't feel so much like a free state when you boys are all down there getting your public holidays for a horse race. But I'll win if you guys can just think of me as you're sitting back watching some 4'9", 50 kilo men ride a large horse down a pitch. Think for me, stuck in my office doing some work.
Mate, can you please not tell the listeners what I was doing last weekend?
I'm worried that the Statman actually doesn't know what horse racing is. I don't know about that explanation.
I've heard it described for me. I've never watched it myself.
You're not a betting man anyway, mate.
Nah, I hate the bets.
Boys, let's move into the podcast. But first, I think what we should do is do our little giveaway draw. Snags, tell us a little bit about what we did.
Oh, look, we launched our giveaway a few weeks ago, so it'll be announced, obviously, today on the potty, the winner. So we got 2, I think, excellent prizes for the fans. So one, the first ever, when I say ever, limited edition, should get the boys to sign it even maybe, Run It Back tee, that'll be given away, and also a $50 UFC store voucher that you can buy your favourite UFC fighter shirt, for example, or anything that your little pizza roulette heart desires on that website. So, Deal, I think it's time to Larry Emder it and spin the wheel, baby.
Time to spin the wheel. Let's go. So we got I think there's about 85 entries on the wheel at the moment. So good little turnout. So we'll give that bad boy a spin. Let's go.
Oh, I feel nervous.
It's actually going really fast.
It's actually spinning. That's what happens with a wheel, mate.
The only prerequisite of a spinning
Hey! Drop Bear MMA wins the T-shirt and the UFC $50 online voucher. So we'll shoot Drop Bear a little DM and get the prize out to her.
Look out! We had a fair few entries there.
We had a great turnout, so that was good. Now, for the listeners that missed out, and especially the listeners that have reached out to us over the last few months, we have a special announcement. We are going to drop our T-shirts as supporter tees. They'll be live to purchase from today, Snags. We'll stick the link up in our bio. Couple of things with these tees. They are strictly limited at this stage. Tees will have 4 price points. They're all the same print and all the same quality. Now, the 3 T-shirts that have a different price point will come with extra perks. This will allow you to support the podcast even further. Press on the link. You can read through all the perks, but I'll just give you an insight on our top perk. So our Platinum Supporter Tee, which is the highest support you can offer us for the podcast, you get the tee. You'll get a shout out on every podcast as a Platinum supporter. And the big kicker, you'll be assigned an executive producer role on the podcast. As executive producer, myself will take your advice on segments, including the fights that the boys will predict. You'll help with choosing hot take subjects and also discussion points on the podcast as well. You also get an invite to do a little bit of punting with the boys as well. You can either do a small bat run or you can jump onto the Run It Back Punters Club. We'll give you one run or one episode of that. And also an opportunity to jump on the show as well and do some picks live with the boys. We'll give you one episode as that as well. If you're keen to support the podcast in that manner, check out our bio. The link will be up there. If you've got any questions, just shoot us through in our DM. We do thank for the people that have already reached out to us and want to get involved. We thought this would be a nice way to do it with the extra perks and get a few Run It Back teas in the market. Let's move into some story time with Snags.
Boys, welcome to probably the most touted and awaited segment on this podcast, other than the lie detector, by yours truly, Sugar Snags. So, boys, I thought I'd do one for the people, and we've got two fathers on this podcast, so I thought I'd do story time with Snags and a bit of an ABC of MMA book, which we may be able to release down the track in a physical copy, and teach Stoney his ABCs, because I know he struggles with it a little bit. So, Stoney, please come along for the ride, brother. So what we're going to do, boys, each week we're going to drop 3 letters, and I'm going to give it to the boys, just quick, short fire and answer, one word only of what you think that letter correlates to. I know I've just said another word wrong on this podcast, but we'll just leave it at that, to the letter of the alphabet. So we're going to kick it off. We're going to go from DL to Statman to Stoney last. So, boys, welcome to ABC of MMA. Let's start with our first letter of the alphabet, A.
A.
Yeah.
Arena.
Yeah. Arena. That was a very poor start. Continue. Kragos.
I got nervous.
I've got to go armbar.
Oh, very plain,
obvious.
very bland. Thank you for your suggestion, but we need that thing. We need the lie detector.
You need to tell me these things. I'll put it in
Stoney.
post.
Cannot go past a bit of Ariani.
Oh, no dice, boys. Anaconda choke for A. Obviously, a very, of course. It goes off.
That's my second guess.
So Anaconda choke takes out the A in our book of MMA. Next stop is obviously the letter B. Deal.
Blowout.
I said of.
We're talking MMA.
Think of anything MMA related.
It's a kid's book, mate. Statman.
Can't have that in the book.
Come on, mate. Bring it.
Bobby Knuckles.
Bobby. I should have got that one in there. Stoney.
I stole it. It was going to be Bobby. Let's go big Ben Rothwell.
Boys, I haven't gone anywhere near fighters yet, so I've gone to Berimbolo, which is obviously a BJJ move if you don't know it. A couple of boys look a little bit confused. Statman, not so much, but if we see a Berimbolo, I think we've seen one or two in the UFC leading into a bit of a heel hook, so hopefully we see a couple in the future, but yeah, bit of an exotic one for you boys for B. Last one for this week, boys, letter C. We might flip it back the other way. Stoney, what's good?
Give me a bit of Chael P. Sugar Snags.
Oh, Jesus. Can he be correct for once? Statman?
The comeback.
The comeback. Oh, very generic again from you. Deal.
Connor.
Connor, I think Stoney said we're not talking about Connor on this potty ever again. So, mate, the only person that's got one right this week is breaking news with Stoney. We've gone nothing other than the Sonnen Files, and we've gone Chael Sonnen. So Chael's taken out C in the book of MMA. And boys, that's our first 3 letters. So we look forward to continuing to roll these through. Maybe we get the fans involved next episode. But Statman, a little bit less bland. DL, a little bit more PG. And Stoney, continue on, my friend. Thanks for joining Snags with story time this week, boys.
Thanks, Snags.
I literally give $10,000 to whoever thought B was Baron Bowler.
Baron Bolo.
I swear to fucking God.
Look at his face.
Baron Bowler. I thought you made it up.
Anaconda choke. Yeah, that's typical. Baron Bowler.
Mate, it's one of my favourite moves in jiu-jitsu.
Oh, boys. I think story time with Stags might kick on a little bit longer, I reckon. So let's jump into Hot Take. Was the UFC right to place Khabib at number 1 pound-for-pound fighter over John Jones?
I would say short and sweet, yes. I think the man has deserved it, not only from his performance inside the octagon, but also his respect and dignity outside it as well, what he's brought to the MMA world. So I'm a happy man for it. I say proceed P for P, baby.
Yeah, look, caused a lot of stir on the internet, on the Twitter sphere. A lot of people confusing the pound for pound list with the all-time GOAT list. I'd have different responses. So pound for pound right now, 100%. I'm on Khabib. All-time GOAT, I've got John Jones just ahead of him.
100% agree with Stoney. I think a lot of people were looking as far back as Jones's wins over Richard Evans, Lyoto Machida, Rampage Jackson. Those happened a long time ago. And if you look at current form, Khabib's number one.
And let's go to the listeners. Pretty resounding yes, 92%, no 8%. In a division that is already stacked with talent, the UFC's 155 division has added Michael Chandler. The 3-time lightweight Bellator champion was on wait for the replacement for 254 main events. My question is, was this an opportunity signing for the UFC or based on the uncertainty of some of the stars in the division?
I would say bit of column A, bit of column B. You know, Snags likes to go whichever way he wants to, and I think Dana's doing the same thing, baby. So I would say great opportunity for the UFC and also a bit of uncertainty at the moment. So call me Sweden, but I'm sitting on the fence, boys.
Look, firmly agree. I think it's one of those signings you would never pass up the opportunity in the light of Khabib apparently retiring. I think he could play into the UFC's hands tremendously to have him on the books. But yeah, look, I honestly think he was just an opportunistic signing and you don't turn them up when they come looking your way. Stepman.
I think a lot of people were blindsided by Khabib's retirement. I think everyone assumed that he was going to go 30-0. So I think that the hiring was nothing but tactical from Dana White as a way to weaken Bellator rather than to bolster the UFC 155 division.
Let's go to the listeners. 73% said opportunity, 27% uncertainty. Anderson Silva may not be the decider if he finishes out his UFC contract. Dana White stated he would not let the 46-year-old fight and wishes he didn't say yes to this one.
I would let him ride off into the sunset and do what he wants. But 46-year-old, he's had a stellar career, legend of the sport. So I'm happy to see him hopefully ride off into the sunset, but see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. We will see what happens. I must say, just on this topic, DL, it really bothered me the way that Dana chose his words to send off Anderson Silva. Rather than focusing on the legend that he's been, he chose to highlight, that he well and truly is done, and Dana regrets having let him take the fight. You know, I'd love to see Anderson, pursue whatever he wants. The fighter instinct, it doesn't leave the person. If he feels that he can still go on at a more appropriate level of competition, I think that'd be a fantastic outcome for Anderson Silva and all his fans.
I think Dana White's hit on the same idea as you, Stoney. That's probably why he chose to finish off his career with a trashing. So if Dana White says it would be inappropriate for Anderson Silva to ever have another fight, it's going to negatively reflect on any promotion that decides to pick him up. If Dana is serious about never putting Anderson Silva back in the cage, he should release him from his contract, allow him to continue on his career if he so wishes. But on a personal note, I would really, really hope that Anderson Silva does not fight again. He doesn't look like he has it, and he hasn't looked like he has had it for quite some time.
Let's go to the listeners. 36% said yes, 64% said no. And what was more interesting was how hard Dana White went on Uriah Hall interview as
Hasn't he got an uncanny ability to absolutely, degrade his fighters, even coming off, Uriah Hall, that's the biggest moment of his career. Look, really disappointing. And just quickly, I know it's this hot take, but, calling him the most timid fighter or most gun-shy fighter.
Yep, I think you said both.
Yeah.
We have frustrations, and Statman and I have spoken at length about this. Uriah Hall's obviously phenomenally talented and sometimes doesn't appear to let the trigger go, but he's had 9 wins in the UFC, 6 by knockout. So it's not like he's this decision merchant that takes it to the judges and can't pull the trigger. 6 knockouts in 9 wins, I think he's doing okay.
In the same press conference, Israel Adesanya Yan was announced by Dana. Is he challenging for the lightweight belt quicker than expected, or is it a well-laid plan?
I would say well-laid plan, to be honest. I think both by Izzy and the UFC. So it should be interesting to see what comes of it. But another double champ in the mix, boys. I think excited for the fight, but then also a little bit kind of nervous in terms of what happens to both divisions, as every time we get a double champ. I kind of want to see the boys defend and some up-and-comers, and I was excited about the Rob fight, but hopefully it comes to fruition, boys, pretty soon.
Yeah, look, the novelty of the double champs are wearing a bit for me. I've got to be honest, this is a podcast, and you boys more so than me, but we are fans of Izzy. Don't love this one. I don't think he's done enough to clear out the division. When I say that, he's fought 5 of the top 10 and he's defended twice. So I wouldn't say he swept the division, and I think it's too premature for him to be moving to light heavy. When you've got someone like Bobby Knuckles who's lost once in 8 years, come back, redeemed himself with 2 wins over some absolute killers, and I'm not buying Dana White saying that Bobby's turned down that fight for a second.
I'm opposite of Stoney here. I'm excited for the light heavyweight clash with Izzy. I think Jan Blachowicz is probably the most winnable champion for Izzy to fight, with just the fighting style itself. And I do think that Israel Adesanya taking the light heavyweight belt that used to belong to John Jones is the perfect bait to get John Jones back into the light heavyweight division that he hasn't actually technically left yet.
And the listeners said 40% too early and 60% planned. That was hot take. Boys, we might jump into a leaderboard update, but first, let's get some results from UFC 254 with the Statman.
Running through it, so the light heavyweight division, Magomed Ankalaev defeated Ion Kudalaba by KO due to punches. Middleweight division, Phil Hawes defeated Jacob Malkoon by KO in punches in 18 seconds of the first round. In the heavyweight division, Alexander Volkov defeated Walt Harris by TKO, body kick and punches. Robert Whittaker defeated Jared Cannonier in the middleweight division by unanimous decision. And in the main event, Khabib Nurmagomedov defeated Justin Gaethje by technical submission triangle choke in the second round.
All right, boys, let's jump into a leaderboard update. All right, boys, it was a good little card for some. And the confident ones, i.e. the Statman, maybe had a fall from grace.
I just found it interesting that, when I start picking again first, Stoney comes out strong. So it's a little bit of shenanigans here. So that's fine.
Theory continues, boys.
Yeah, it was a pretty sad card for the old Statman. He only got the 1 on the board. So let's start from 4th position. Snags got 3 on the night at UFC 254, and they finished on 59 for Snags. DL had a good card. So DL pushed up onto 67. He got 4 on the night. So I did all right. And now, this is the weird part, because Statman only got 1. So now I am equal second, or Statman is equal third, however you want to see it, on 67 apiece. And our man is back on the top of the leaderboard. Stoney, 469. 2 clear of the Statman.
Look, it's good to be home, boys. It is good to be home, but it's not all about me, because Zach had a good win as well, boys. He bet against the Statman and he come out on top. So, yeah, in honouring our wager, looking forward to getting Zach on a podcast soon. Get a bit of insight into the world of MMA over in Santa Barbara, California. So looking forward to that. But yeah, I'm loving the idea of first and then daylight and equal third. Like that has a nice ring to it.
It's crazy. I'm looking forward to seeing Zach on the potty, see what he brings to it. We'll get Zach next episode. We'll have the boys break it down for us.
That main event was absolutely insane. I think that Gaethje probably represented a really distinct threat to Khabib in that fight, but you just didn't see it. It just didn't come to fruition, to borrow a phrase. The leg kicks, I think, were starting to do some damage. I think we saw in the backstage after the fight, Khabib limping a little bit on his legs. Just the adjustments that Khabib made when he found out that he was struggling to take him down, so he baited him in with lazy jabs, managed to get the takedown. And once it hit the ground, for all Gaethje's talk about being an incredible scrambler to get back to the feet, showed that there were levels to it when you've got Khabib on top of you.
Yeah, look, it really is one of those fights we were all looking forward to seeing how it played out. Obviously, Gaethje wasn't the best striker that's ever faced Khabib, but he was arguably the best package between striking and grappling. And look, it was just the same old story, and it's a credit to Khabib. It appears it doesn't matter who's in the ring, it's just the same outcome, which is absolute domination. So, just well impressed, as I always am, when Khabib gets into the cage.
And I think the big question to come out of that as well is, are we going to see number 30 from Khabib? I know straight after the fight as well, Dana was already talking about it. So that's going to be interesting. What do you boys think?
Look, I think it's incredibly ironic. Dana White, one of his noteworthy catchphrases is, "I'll never talk somebody out of retirement." If they mention the word retirement, it's time for them to go. And then obviously Khabib announced it in the cage, and then, within days, Dana was saying, "I just want to have a chat with Khabib. I think he can go one more to 30-0. So a little bit of hypocrisy there from Dana White. Look, I think we do see Khabib get back. I don't think it's imminent. I don't think it's for a while. It may be a year or two layoff, but I don't think we've seen the last of Khabib.
I think we have, boys. I think he's a man of his word, and I think he'll hold strong to it. So breaking news with Snags.
I think if Khabib does come back, I do not think I will ever trust another MMA retirement again. He said it with such passion and such commitment, and he always does strike as a man whose word is gospel. So unless his mum gives him the all clear to go back out and fight, which I could see being a thing, my big worry is that Dana's going to use, father plan was get to 30-0 to get back in there. But I think that would elevate Dana to like a cartoon villain. I don't know if he's necessarily going to push those buttons on Khabib. If he does come back, which I hope he does, because I love watching him compete, I'll never put faith in another MMA retirement ever again.
Boys, I think it's time to jump into some predictions.
Perfect, boys. So we are heading to UFC in Vegas. We've had our trip in Fight Island. Before we get into it, I just want to highlight an upcoming Dana White Contender Series fighter. He will actually have already competed before this podcast comes out. It airs on Wednesday night. It's Carlos Ulberg. He is a New Zealand City Kickboxing protege. He's 2-0 in MMA, and he will be competing on Wednesday night. And obviously, as we spoke, we had Chelsea Hackett, and she will be on Dana White Contender Series November 17th before our next podcast lands. So very, very important for us to highlight our Oceania fighters. Heading into UFC Vegas 13, we've got 3 fights from this card, 2 fights from the next one. So let's jump into it. First up in the heavyweight division, we've got Tanner Boser versus Andrei Arlovski. Andrei Arlovski lost his very first professional fight by KO to Vyacheslav Datsik, a truly insane fighter with losses due to eye gouging and disqualification due to not taking a fight seriously. Seconds after he was disqualified for this, Datsik attacked the referee and threw the referee out of the ring. He later disappeared, was presumed dead, then showed up in Moscow stealing mobile phones, got locked up in a mental institution due to claiming to be a Mossad agent and Jesus Christ, then later tore a hole in the steel fence of the mental asylum to escape and fled to Norway before joining a Russian neo-Nazi political party. Vladimir Datsik, if you ever watch any of his fights, he is the funniest motherfucker to watch in the cage, but also, honestly, just a broken human being in the brain. Coming into this fight I'm so sorry. Stoney, you're number 1 now, so you get to pick first.
Can you just repeat that, Statman?
Which one? The stat? Do you want me to do the stat again?
Where am I ranked now, Statman? Beautiful, thank you.
You're ranked number 1. Oh.
Straight to it. Then what are you doing with the mic? Cut the Statman's mic down, because he is not number 1.
He's cut.
All right. Look, Andrei Arlovski, every time I write him off, he seems to reinvent himself and come back with a win. Now, I had him first absolutely dead and buried when our boy Tai Tuivasa knocked him out. We're going back maybe 5 fights back. But look, he's just, I can't trust him. He was on the very first UFC I ever watched, which would have been UFC 40-odd. I cannot believe this man's still kicking. It's a miracle. But yeah, look, I'm going on Tanner. Tanner, I hadn't heard of him or hadn't seen anything of him up until he was on the recent Rob Whittaker and Darren Till from memory on that same card, and he had a fairly impressive showing there. So I'm jumping on the younger fighter. I think Tanner's in his late 20s, so I'm backing Tanner to get it done.
Interesting you mentioned Tai Tuivasa. I think that Tai Tuivasa represents the greatest threat. That style fighter represents the greatest threat to Andrei Arlovski. For whatever reason, he does very, very well against technical strikers, but throw him against a wild striker with knockout power, and Andrei Arlovski, more often than not, ends up unconscious on the floor. For that reason, I think Andrei Arlovski is the much more skilled fighter, but he's got years under his belt and miles on his chin, and I'm taking Tanner Boser in this one.
I'm trusting the boys with this one. I'm also going to take Tanner for me. Snacks.
That was a quick pick.
Yeah, I didn't have much to add on that one.
Look, boys, Snags, one of the people, one of the fans, I would say, one that's on an absolute tear in terms of his picks lately. 3 last fight card, boys. I don't think I can get any better. But I'm going to go tenor as well. Stick with the boys on the first one, and then I'll peel away afterwards.
Heading on to the next one, the women's strawweight bout between Claudia Godelia and Yan Shonen. Claudia Godelia has had 11 fights outside the UFC and 11 fights inside the UFC. Godelia's finish rate outside the UFC was 73%. Her finish rate in the UFC is 9%. Heading into this fight, Yan Shonen... Oh, I caught myself again. I'm so sorry, Stoney. Take it away.
Look, I think it's more of a production issue. I was just looking at DL. You need to get quicker on cutting that mic, mate.
I love it.
He was only the leader for 2 weeks. Look at him.
Yeah, he's smug, eh?
Far out. Claudia, boy, I was a big fan back when she was challenging. Did she have the tough season, Stepman? Is that with Joanna?
Yeah. She had 2 really close fights with you.
Correct. Yeah, I was a big fan. I thought she was really impressive. But then she just fallen, off the wagon, off the radar a little bit for me. One thing that impresses me about Yan is she's had 5 consecutive unanimous decision victories, and that's a lot of dominance inside the cage. So I'm iffy on this one, but I'm going Yan.
The fight that stands out to me, and you can't accurately use MMA math to pick a winner, but Yan and Godelia both have decision victories over Angela Hill. Yan Shonen, her victory was close but pretty decisive. Claudia Godelia, most media members thought that Angela Hill actually picked up that fight. I see the fight going pretty similarly, definitely 100% going to a decision, but I see Shonen taking this one.
Yeah, I think Yan for me, I think she's on a 5 win streak, 6 win streak.
Yep.
And ranked number 10 now in that division. So she's on the way up. I think Claudia, unfortunately, is probably on the way down. So I think this is a bit of a sliding doors moment.
Oh, look, boys, I'm firmly against Dale on that one. I'm going to go Claudia. I think she's going to get it done, and Snags going to claw back another point as he continues on his absolute tear, as I would say, again on this podcast, towards the top of the leaderboard, boys. Only, probably about 13 more points to go.
Keep digging, son.
And then we're heading to the main event of UFC Vegas 13. It's a light heavyweight bout between Thiago Santos and Glover Teshira. I've got a bit of a smorgasbord of facts for you about Thiago Santos. Thiago Santos is currently tied for the second most KOs in UFC history with 11, one behind company leader Vitor Belfort. Santos, who also holds the record for most bouts in a calendar year, is coming back from a career-long layoff of 16 months after tearing his LCL, PCL, MCL, meniscus, partially tearing his ACL, and cracking his tibia in his unsuccessful title challenge against John Jones. Despite these injuries, Santos became the first and so far only fighter to win a judge's scorecard against Jones, forcing him to a split decision victory. Stoney.
Boom. Teshira, another one, similar to Arlovsky. Every time I think this man is done, he just reinvents himself. I think he's riding a 4-fight streak now. At one point, he was 3 losses out of his last 5, and that's where I thought this is where it's all going to fall apart for him. And then he's gone from strength to strength. Obviously, had a big win over Anthony Smith, who hasn't, let's be honest. But I think Thiago Santos, he was super impressive in that Johnny Bones Jones fight. He's had the big layoff, but I just love his power. I can remember, and I can't recall his opponent's DL, but I can remember we've been watching him a few times, and he just throws like a man absolutely possessed. And, I think I've got a ton of respect for him, and I think he catches Glover in this one. Are we doing round and finish in this one?
Yeah, round and finish.
Cool. I'm going to go round 2.
The power of Thiago Santos is by far the it factor in this fight. Very, very scary man. Probably the most imposing power puncher in the light heavyweight division. I think at 36, he's the younger fighter, but he's coming off his longest ever layoff. And the thing that gets me is it's not a shoulder blade or like a torn shoulder or anything like that. It's multiple serious knee injuries. It does not inspire confidence. I think he'll be slower, more hittable. and lately Teshira has looked amazing. I'm taking the same round 2. I'm taking Glover Teshira by TKO.
Well, I don't know. This long, what was it? July 2019, that loss to Jones. So what are we in? We're nearly coming up to a year and a half difference since last time being in the ring. And Santos looks so good in that John Jones fight. And look, I had him winning that fight. And I think if there's anyone that's going to see, I can sort of see how it plays out. If Izzy beats Jan, there's some moves in the light heavyweight thing, and then he moves up. Santos moves up, and I could see Izzy dropping back down and taking on Santos in that light heavyweight bout to defend both belts. So for me, I would love to see Santos take this one against Teshira, and I think it's going to be a round 2 TKO.
Jeez, that was like a game of Cluedo.
Yeah, I really was
ending,
confused.
wasn't it?
I actually was trying to read my notes, but
look, Snags go short and sweet, but like a game of Connect 4, boys. I'm going Santos for the win, and I'm going to go by decision.
Nice.
Boys, we might just take a quick break from the predictions as we've got our special guest ready to jump in. Our guest on today's podcast is not only the hottest up-and-coming flyweight in Australia, but is about to get on a plane to Vegas for a chance to score a UFC contract on Dana White's Contender series. Please welcome to the podcast, Chelsea Hackett. Chelsea, how are you?
Yeah, good. How are you guys? Thank you for having me.
Yeah, second time we've had you on the podcast, actually.
It is. I mean, you guys are up there with my faves, just saying.
Nice. We appreciate the love. Have you started packing yet?
Yes, that started this morning.
Nice. Is there some essentials that you need to take on the way to Vegas?
So I actually did a little question and answer this morning, yesterday on my Instagram, because I'm so bad. Like, I haven't been to the States since I was like 8 years old. So I was like, what should I bring? Like, and everyone is saying like Vegemite and like coffee. And I'm just like, guys, I can hardly eat like when I'm over there anyway. So like, yeah, it's funny. Power adapter.
Can't talk to Daniel about Vegemite because he actually doesn't have it on toast. He has jam instead, which is really weird.
Actually, I'm a Promite girl. I like Promite over Vegemite.
Well, it's a bit better than jam, Chelsea.
I mean,
one, okay?
I agree.
Before we get too much about you, Chelsea, I want to know how the nerves was cornering Selena on the weekend for Eternal 54.
Oh my God. How did you know? I was actually like, my heart was just beating out of my chest. I have never felt so nervous.
Wow.
Like in my life. Like when I fight, you know, like when it's you're in full control. So like I'm not nervous. I'm just excited. I'm ready to get in there. And that's exactly what she was like, which I was super happy that she, you know, just bottled it all up and took it all in. But I was actually behind her, like sweating. Like I was like, it's hot in here. Like it's freaking hot. Like I was so nervous. I think because with Selena, I've never worked with someone, like being so close to someone like I have with her. And like I was working with her like so closely through a whole camp. So, you know, I obviously felt a little bit of, you know, it was on my back as well. And it was her debut. So I just had those nerves. Like I knew she was going to kill it, but I was still so nervous. Now I know how my trainers feel. Like, and my dad, oh, poor dad.
Oh, I reckon that would be worse being a father and your coach at the same time.
Yeah.
You'd be sweating bullets 24/7.
You know what's crazy though? Like dad is the best. Like he is so chill. I can never tell when he's nervous, which is why I really enjoy having him in my corner. He like just, you know, rides with it. Like, but he tells me at the end, like, that he was shitting himself. But like the way he just holds it together is like no one I've ever been around. Like my mum is an absolute nutcase and like everyone else is a nutcase, but dad is just so chill.
Seems like the same story as last podcast. I think we touched on the mum and the dad stuff and the bare knuckle in the car park, but we'll leave that story for last podcast.
Yeah, we'll leave that one.
Look, I guess every one of your camps so far have come with a bit of challenges in terms of either a super long camp or a pulled out opponent. We had another one of those as you lead up to probably one of your biggest fights of your career.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about it all?
Yeah, you know, it wasn't the smoothest camp. Like in regards to training, 100% it was. Like my training this camp was just on another level again, like from what it has been in the past. So, you know, we hit a couple of roadblocks this camp. We had 3 date changes. So I started training for Contender in May. That's when I started my camp, because the first date was July 28th. So, you know, I was in camp in May, I was cutting, I was dieting, and then COVID hit. So obviously they held it out. They didn't really release a date. We weren't sure, but I just stayed in camp just in case it was soon. And then they released October 6th. So I think they released that in about July, and that's when I was like, okay, so I'm staying in camp. You know, it's July already, October's around the corner. And then they decided to go back to Fight Island and push it back again to November. So I've literally had a 6-month fight camp.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how long have you been not in fight camp after your last fight camp? Because it feels like last time we spoke to you, I think you had about a 16-week or something fight camp for last fight.
Yeah. So last
are you
fight
ever
was
not in
12.
fight camp?
No, it doesn't feel like it. Hey, I don't remember when my last drink was. I just don't remember having a life. But no, it's obviously brought me to this next fight, so it's all been worth it, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. So when did you find out, obviously it was probably after your last fight, but when did you find out that you were getting an opportunity to go on the Contender Series, and how was that feeling?
So I got told from my manager that if I won that fight, I would get a spot on Contender. So I actually knew going into my fight in March that, you know, like there's a lot on the line here. It's not just a win in front of my home crowd. Like if I win, I've got that spot. So I was fighting for a lot. Like I was fighting for my future, basically. So I went out there, did the job. That's why I was super happy at the end, because I didn't tell anyone. I didn't tell them for a while. So, but in myself and obviously my team and my manager knew that, we were on. Like that's all that the matchmakers in the UFC needed to see. They needed one more win out of me, and then I was on Contender.
And because of the short turnaround with swapping opponents, have you had a chance to really get your head around who you're actually fighting?
It's weird. Like there's mixed emotions, you know, like there's frustration because we're now up to number 4 for this camp. Like this girl that I'm fighting now that's actually locked in is the 4th opponent. So it was very choppy and changey. My first one that I've been matched with, that I was matched with since, you know, May, she had visa complications, which is why she had to pull out. But from her, you know, number 2, no idea why she pulled out. Number 3, pull out. And then I'm just so grateful and happy that this girl stepped up, because it was only 3 weeks notice. You know, she stepped up about a week ago. So 3 weeks out. And at the end of the day, like, this is for a UFC contract. Like, I just don't know why these girls aren't jumping at the chance. Like, you just drop anything and just run with it. So, it's been rough in that sense. Like, I remember when I got my 3rd opponent, we were really excited because she was a southpaw. And, you know, it's no secret that I love mixing my stances up and working my angles. So we had her for a week, and that whole week at training, I was just, you know, like unlocking all of these new things that I was doing. And, you know, and I was getting really confident with this girl. And then she pulled out. So I was devastated after that one because I was really confident and looking forward to fighting her. But, you know, like at the end of the day, I don't care who I fight. I just need a face to punch, and I need that contract. So,
yeah, I was going to say, do you just spend more time just focusing on yourself? I know, like, just watching your Instagram and your videos and things like that, explosiveness is huge for you. You're always working on things that are based on your explosiveness. Yeah, definitely. I think my biggest asset, especially in the division I am in, is my strength, but also my speed and power. So I think girls don't really understand that until they are standing in front of me. But it's something that I've worked on for years. Like, it's not something that you can just develop in a couple of months. Like, I've been at this for a long, long time. So I just work at it every day. Obviously, my main focus is myself, and, you know, getting to a stage where, like, I'm always learning, I'm always improving.
But you've got to look at your opponents. Like, I never not look at my opponents. I see their past fights. I work out, what they like to do, all that sort of stuff. But there's one thing, you do a little bit of research, but you don't overanalyze and overthink them. You've just got to put like 80% of your focus on yourself.
I did want to ask you, Chelsea, when you've been sparring, you had Beck recently as part of your little spar sessions. How did that go?
Yeah. Really good.
Yeah.
I bloody love Beck. She is an absolute legend. I've been really lucky and grateful to have her pretty much, a part of this prep. We've had some awesome spars. They go 0 to 100 real quick, but that's the fight. So I'm just so lucky that I've got her here on the Gold Coast. Like, she usually, out of COVID, she does all her preps in the States. So even though she's an Aussie, she's never really here for her fight camp. So, I got her at a good time. She's, waiting to get the call up for Bellator. So she's in hard training as well, looking super sharp. And she's helped me so much with, everything. She's been in the sport for so long. So it's really cool to have someone with her level of experience just, prep with me and help me through.
Well, from looking at your Instagram and stuff like that, you look like you're absolutely dialed in at the moment and ready to roll.
Yeah.
So as you roll over into camp over there, what's the difference between, well, I guess we haven't been there yet, but who do you get to take and what's kind of the team that you're taking over with yourself at the moment?
Yeah, so for Contender, and because of COVID reasons, we can only take 2 people. So, and that's including me. So I'm only taking my dad with me because he's also one of my main coaches. So my Vince Perry, my main MMA coach, obviously runs his gym here. And with the whole quarantine, when we come back, it's just too long for him to be away from the gym. So, he won't be able to come, but I've got dad coming with me. And then when we get to Vegas, we're actually meeting Mark Fiore. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he's a well-known trainer over in the States, and we're really good friends with him. So he's going to corner me over there as well, which I'm very lucky because he is a legend.
Mate, it seems like, I don't know, I'm nervous for you. It's only because you're a fan favourite of the podcast. So are you prepared for quarantine when you get back? What's the plan?
The plan is to order Krispy Kreme and
this is what we had on last podcast as well.
And eat some burgers. No, I'm kidding. Jake, my boyfriend, was like, "You're gonna come back like a bowling ball." So like, my goal is to not let that happen. But no, just some workouts. I'll be able to do pads with dad. Just kind of relax because it's been a really hectic 6 months. So I think I'll enjoy it.
And not that you need any extra motivation, but is it exciting to see how many Australians are doing so well in the sport at the moment? Like everywhere you look, they're dominating the game.
100%. And, the UFC are taking notice, which, is why I've got this spot on Contender as well. Like I truly believe that if it wasn't for the momentum that the guys and the girls in the UFC are making at the moment, these spots wouldn't be coming up for up and comers, out of Australia. So, it's definitely taking its own wave. And I'm so excited that like I've got the Aussie spot for Contender because, I'm on, like, Jimmy was the last Aussie on Contender. So, and he absolutely dominated. So I'm super excited to do the same.
Well, the next up-and-coming Aussie fighter, I guess we probably don't need one because DL and I both know how the fight's probably going to finish anyway, but do you want to give us your prediction on how we're going to end the Contender series?
Yeah, prediction is a knockout for sure. We're going for that KO. I've been watching the Contender the last few weeks, and after every show, like, Dana White calls up the athletes and, hands them their contracts. But the one thing that I've been taking note with him is, he wants the finishes. Like, he wants those finishes. So, maybe for a girl fighter, it would be different. Like, he wouldn't really mind. But to me, I'm definitely looking for that finish. And I know I have everything in my toolbox to deliver it.
Absolutely, mate. We'll be supporting you really, really hard on the podcast. We can't wait. November 17th, I think it is on Australian TV. So we're looking forward to that, mate. So thanks for jumping on the podcast once again, and we wish you all luck for the Contender Series.
Thank you so much, guys. I'll talk to you when I get back.
Look forward to it. Good
Thanks,
luck.
legends.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Chelsea. Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
And let's jump back into the predictions.
Heading over to UFC Vegas 14 the next weekend over, we're looking at a welterweight bout between Brian Barberena and Daniel Rodriguez. When Daniel Rodriguez appeared on the Contender Series, he was the only fighter that week to pick up a win that did not get offered a UFC contract. After going back to the regional circuit and picking up a title there, the UFC offered him a late notice fight against Tim Means, which he accepted and won. He is now 3-0 in the UFC, while the 4 fighters who were offered contracts on his episode of the Contender Series have a combined record of 4-3.
Really tough one. I don't have a lot of science backing this one up. This is a bit of a Hail Mary. I'm going Daniel Rodriguez, Statman.
I'm also going Daniel Rodriguez. I think the thing that catches my eye is beating Tim Means on short notice in your octagon debut in Tim Means' backyard in dominating fashion, knocked him down and choked him unconscious with a standing guillotine. Barberena, for me, has always been inconsistent. Sometimes he looks like a world beater, and sometimes he looks like your average number 30 in the world or number 40 in the world, number 50 in the world. He'll offer a solid challenge, but I reckon Rodriguez should take this one.
Yeah, I'm taking the D-Rod myself. So Daniel Rodriguez for me, 13-1. Current win streak is 9. I'm really excited about this fight, actually. So I'm going to take the D-Rod.
Let's get it.
Really wanted to say it.
How am I supposed to follow this content? I don't know. Last time it's Cluedo. This time we're talking D-Rod.
What's his name?
Look, Snags loves a good D-Rod himself, so he's going to take Rodriguez as well, boys. Carry on. I can't do this.
We're heading to the main event now. The lightweight bout between Islam Makhachev and Rafael dos Anjos. Islam Makhachev is the least hittable fighter in UFC history, having absorbed the least significant strikes per minute out of every fighter to have more than 5 UFC fights. He is hit on average less than 1 time per minute.
We done? Okay.
Yeah, mate. That's it. That's it. I only had one long stat this time around.
I thought there was like a punchline coming there.
No, you finish on a different tone. That one threw me. I thought there was something else coming.
I'm so
That's okay.
sorry.
But you haven't thrown my tip in this one. So RDA, obviously a veteran of the sport. I do love and admire Rafael dos Anjos, but I think Father Time might be getting on a little bit for him, especially in this one. Islam, super impressive. He's younger. He's got the winning streak. In these situations, very rarely, DL, does the old fighter win. I know sometimes it does go against the grain, and Cowboy beating the raging Alexander Hernandez, that was one that really shocked me. But, I'd be staggered if RDA got up in this one. So Islam, for me, I'm picking a decision.
I 100% agree with you in that regard. It's the first fight at lightweight for Rafael dos Anjos in 4 years. At 36, he's well past his prime, and maybe even they say that as you get older, the cut becomes harder. It's been a while between drinks since he's been down into that division. He's really only beaten one decent wrestler anytime recently. It was Kevin Lee, and Kevin Lee's not exactly known for his wrestling nowadays as well. You'd have to travel back to Benson Henderson for a lightweight wrestler that he's fought and beaten. But I am absolutely taking Islam Makhachev. Same story, decision all the way.
Makhachev hasn't lost since 2015. He's not going to lose in this one. I think he's going to take RDA. I think it could go a lot earlier than people think. I think it could be a first round knockout, unfortunately, for RDA, because I like RDA.
Look, yeah, I think I've got something in common with Islam, to be honest. Like, I haven't lost since 2000 and I think, probably about 2018. That's because I haven't competed since then, boys. But I'm going to go Islam as well. I think I'm going to go decision for this one, trying to scale back some points for Snags this week.
All right, boys, that rounds out our predictions. I think it's time to jump into the Run It Back Punters Club. Boys, The bank has a balance.
Keep the dollars dropping, boys.
We need
Keep them
those dollars
dropping.
to keep running in.
I feel like I'm out on a Saturday night the other week, winning a feature.
The lads have a nice little balance of $130 going straight to that bank. From the last episode, leg one was Crystal Palace at $2.77. Stoney got that one. He also, in the podcast, if you go back, he did mention the goal scorer of that match, and he did nail it.
Look at it. Just been a great fortnight for Stoney.
It was pretty good. Leg two, Melbourne Storm, $1.49. They were favourites. Even though a lot of people thought they shouldn't be, they dominated that game. So we smashed that leg two in. And then we had a couple of NFL games that kicked off at 4 o'clock in the morning, Australian time. So we woke up to the joy of $130 into the bank balance. So not bad.
So
not
good.
Not bad for a $10 investment.
Hey, I'm not going to lie. I was in a state of shock when that all come through. I was really nervous on the last leg, which I believe was Sugar Snags' Pittsburgh Steelers to get up.
Yeah, that's correct. Mate, they're
Yeah,
7-0
Steelers
now.
They're only undefeated team.
In hindsight, is a good pick, and we're not used to saying that about one of Snags' picks. So
No.
Well, I
Straight
firmly
up.
agree on that statement.
Straighten right up. So, boys, let's jump in with our found fortune. This week's $10 investor is Snags.
Well, boys, happy to be here after my extremely good picks the last couple of weeks. So looking forward to another fruition of
Boys,
weeks.
let's keep the good times rolling. I will kick off leg one. Straightforward. After our Arizona Cardinal, Snags,
Go on, mate. Don't disrespect
knocked
me.
off
like that.
the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle was amazing this week. And I think I'll take in my first leg Seattle Seahawks playing the Bills. $1.63. Stoney.
Nice little start for the boys.
lock it in. Boys, we're going back over to the UK. Going to take a little leaf out of Sugar Snags' book. What are we thinking, blue pill or red pill?
Oh, I'm always about that
I
blue
was
pill,
going to say
baby.
red.
Okay, it all comes down to the stat, man. What are we thinking?
Red.
Red it is. And with good reason, we're going back to Crystal Palace, boys.
Oh,
Oh, look out.
Looking...
Oh no.
No, let's have none of that. They're playing Leeds United, who have obviously started the season fairly well for a promotion team. But I look at the quality between two, and I think Palace stack up, at least on par, and they're paying 3.10 in that matchup. So I'm just as confident as I was last time round with Palace. I think they get it done here. So at $3.10, Palace to beat Leeds.
What day are they playing?
Sunday the 8th.
Oh, keep going, Snags. Keep going. Sunday the 8th. Here we go.
They play the EPL every day? Or is it
No,
like
no, it's a weekend.
Crystal Palace, 3.10.
Look out.
Jesus.
Value.
Okay. Who's scoring a goal?
No, let's not do that.
My boy Wilfred Zaha is scoring the goal, but we're not putting that on. Just for those playing at home, the blue pill would have been Leicester City tomorrow morning to also knock off Leeds. So consecutive losses for Leeds coming up, according to Sony.
Interesting.
Okay.
Producer DL, a question. Are we avoiding US politics on this podcast?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
What's it paying, though?
Who are you going?
I was going the Democratic to win the Senate at $2.10.
No.
Fair.
Imagine if they get up there.
Oh, I mean the Republicans are playing $3.50. That's the interesting one there. Oh, boys, I'm heading to NFL as well. I'm going the Minnesota Vikings at the line, minus -3.5 handicap, $1.93 against the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, safe pick.
Yeah.
I like that.
Snags, what are you up before you drop
Who are we
your-
going again? Minnesota Vikings,
Had a good win today.
Minus 3.5 handicap.
$1.93. Copy that.
Knocked off the
Copy that,
Packers.
boys. In the multi.
Yeah.
Yeah, in form. Good pick, Statman.
Thank you. That was my backup.
Rightio, boys. Well, shall we round this bad boy off with a bit of bowls, a bit of show
What's our
jumping?
multi currently before
bit
your
of-
tip?
Sorry, just cut me off again, as per usual.
Not by, not
Our
as per
multi currently
usual.
sits at 9.87. Power play would be 11.11.
It's all right.
So, boys, I don't really know where to go this week. Got a couple of interesting ones. Bit of handball action I was looking at before. Bit of show jumping. Bit of, whatever Snags would like. Not esports, that's for sure, because I'm never going back there. Bit of biathlon. Who knows where Snags will go? Do you know where he's going to go? He's going to go back to the NFL, because that's where he does his best work, okay? So, Snags this week, just for the boys to kind of bring home, I guess, another victory. And I'm feeling a little bit nervous about this one, but I'm going to roll it in there. I'm going to go this week, boys. Bear with me. I'm going to go the Washington football team to beat the New York Giants. They're paying $1.60. So nothing too elaborate from Snags. No Peter Wright this week, boys. So that sits us at $15.79. If we power play that bad boy up, we get $18.34. So it's a potential $183 for the boys.
I'm feeling pretty good about those picks, except for Crystal Palace.
Yeah, what's got you rattled? What are you saying, Leeds?
It's just the line. I don't like.
He's just looking at the
I don't
numbers.
like it. Yeah, I don't follow. I don't follow the EPL too much, but I saw you going a 3-10 underdog.
Well,
they were
yeah, it's
underdogs
win,
last
draw,
week.
win. So come on, mate. Get around it. A bit of positivity. Nothing but negativity. You lose the belt and you've lost composure. Come on, bring it back.
Positive vibes. Boys, that's a wrap on episode 36. If you like what we're doing, hit us up on all our socials. Please like, share, comment, or subscribe to the podcast. Don't forget we're on YouTube and all podcast platforms. If you'd like to support the podcast apart from listening, liking, and sharing our content, hit up them supporter tees. The link will be in our bio. The t-shirts are very limited. We're only doing a limited run of these. Any questions, shoot us off in the DMs. That's us for episode 36, boys. I'm producer DL.
Oh, sorry. I was dabbing everyone on the Zoom call. I'm Sugar Stags.
I'm the stat man.
And my name is Stoney.
And we'll run it back with you all on the next Run It Back podcast.
Remember when the dab was cool?
Yeah.
Mate, it's still cool. Still cool, man. Yeah. Totally.
We need to come up with a run it back thing.
Run It Back dab.
No, not a dab. Something else.
Oh, we had the goosey for a little while.
Oh, goosey, baby.
Goosey.
Haven't done a goosey in a while.
No.
Goosey.
Goosey, goosey,
Goosey.
That was a good song. Do you remember that song on Boy Street?
Goosey, you know.